in some ways more important than 2008. Because we've got a very clear contrast this time. John McCain believed in climate change and believed in immigration reform. On some issues, there was a sense of independence. What we've got this time out is a candidate who said he'd basically rubber stamp a Republican Congress who wants us to go backwards and not forwards on a whole range of issues. They've got an economic theory that basically says the only way to grow the economy is to slash everybody's taxes further, especially the wealthiest Americans, to dismantle government in so many ways, and that somehow, if everybody, the most powerful in our society, are left to do whatever it is that they want, that somehow we're going to be better off. And we've just got a completely different vision about how America has succeeded. And it's rooted in fact, and it's rooted in history. It's based on what we've seen, because the ideas that they're putting forward have been tried. We tried them between 2000 and 2008 and resulted in the most sluggish job growth that we've ever seen, resulted in all kinds of phony financial profits and debt, and resulted in the worst financial crisis and economic crisis we'd seen since the 1930s. So it's not as if they're offering any new ideas. They're basically saying, you're on your own. And when everybody's on their own, somehow we're better off. And we've got a contrasting vision that says we are stronger together, that America was built together, that all of us have responsibilities, that we thrive in a free market where risk takers and innovators are rewarded for taking a bet, taking a chance. But we also understand that we grew because we made a decision at some point. We were going to have public schools where every kid, immigrants who showed up here in New York City fleeing wars in Europe, that they could come here and suddenly go into a public school and learn and end up winning Nobel Prizes and starting Fortune 500 companies. That was how we built this country. We built this country around the idea that everybody should have access to a great college education. And so as a consequence, we set up, President Lincoln, the first Republican president, set up land-grant colleges all across this country where the kid of a farmer could suddenly go and learn something new, and all of us would become more productive because of it. This country was built because together we built the Hoover Dam and the Golden Gate Bridge and the interstate highway system. That's how we sent a man to the moon. That's how the internet was invented, because we did these things together. My grandfather went to college on the GI Bill because we understood that that would help make everybody richer. We didn't do those things just because it was good for one group or one individual. We did it because we understood that when everybody's got a shot, no matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, we all do better. And that's what's at stake in this election. Those are the contrasting visions. And we know which direction this country needs to go in. This is a country that needs to invest in clean energy, because we don't need to be subsidizing big oil companies to the tune of $4 billion a year. We need to double down on solar and wind and biofuels that are going to help reduce our dependence on foreign oil and clean up our environment. We know that it's important for us to make sure that young people are able to afford to go to college. Everybody, not just some. We know that we have to invest in science and technology and stem cell research and all the things that can help lead to amazing medical and scientific breakthroughs. We know that we've got to rebuild this country, which is why I want to spend half of the money that we're saving on wars we're no longer fighting to build our roads and our bridges and our airports. And we also know that if we're going to restore a sense of middle-class security, that we've got to make sure that we're rewarding businesses that are investing here in the United States, not businesses that are shipping jobs overseas. We know these things, and we can do it, and we can do it in a balanced way. And one of the big arguments we're going to have over the next 4 or 5 months is, how do we pay for stuff? And I happen to believe that it makes sense for us to make these investments, to make sure that Social Security and Medicare are still there for the next generation, to make sure that we're not kicking poor kids and people with disabilities and seniors who don't have any other means off of Medicaid, just to balance our budgets. I think that I can afford to pay a little bit more, and frankly, some of the people in this room can afford to pay a little bit more, so that we can bring down our debts in a responsible way, cutting out waste, cutting out programs that don't work anymore, but also making sure that everybody's paying their fair share. And at root, so much of this has to do with a belief that not only are we all in this together, but all of us are equal in terms of dignity and in terms of respect. And everybody deserves a shot. So part of what we've been spending a lot of time doing is just making sure that those ideals that we profess are made real. First bill I signed, Lilly Ledbetter Act. Simple proposition. Equal pay for equal work. I don't want my daughters treated differently than my sons. That's the reason why we're fighting for comprehensive immigration reform, because I believe that a child who's here, raised with our kids, playing with our kids, has as much talent as our kids, the notion that somehow they would not have the capacity, the ability to proclaim themselves Americans and to fulfill their American dream, that's not who we are. That's not what we're about. You know, the announcement I made last week about my views on marriage equality, same principle. You know, the basic idea, I want everybody treated fairly in this country. We have never gone wrong when we expanded rights and responsibilities to everybody. That doesn't weaken families, that strengthens families. Yep. It's the right thing to do. On each and every one of these issues, there is a fundamental difference between the candidates. And when we passed health care reform, you know, we did it because a country this wealthy, we shouldn't have 30 million people without health insurance. That's not an efficient way to go. We shouldn't have people showing up at emergency rooms that we end up having to pay for indirectly because we couldn't give them preventive care. I don't want women being charged more than men for their ailments. That's not right. I want to make sure that seniors who've been paying into Medicare, that they've got Medicare that they can count on in their golden years. And we've got to make some changes, but we're not going to voucherize that program. So on, you know, it's been said that this election is going to be about values, and I absolutely agree. It's about the economic values we have, about the values that you can be stylish and powerful too, are what makes America so special. That the idea that